What's up, guys, and welcome to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. On this episode, we bring back Nate SWB Crawler, and we talk about his Leaky soft top. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. Today, we are bringing back Nate SWB Crawler. Nate, how are you doing today, Nate?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing good. It's warm in this office here, and the thunderstorm I thought would break the humidity, but doesn't seem like it's doing anything.
Yeah, it's just been hot and humid here in PA today.
Yeah, we had a couple weeks here in New Hampshire that was kind of like cooler weather, and I thought we were going into fall, but it didn't seem like it lasted very long.
Yeah, the last week and a half or so has been cooler, but not cool exactly, but it's been in the 80s instead of the 90s.
So due to scheduling conflicts, we're having Nate on again. Seems like a lot of the people that I want to have are in different time zones or conflicting schedules. So I thought it'd be good to have Nate on again just because he recently had a soft top issue. I'll let you kind of take the lead with this because you put out a video on it, and you guys can go and watch that. But what was the main issue of that soft top?
Sure. So, well, I guess I'll start at the beginning. We have a 2014 Wrangler Unlimited that my wife drives every day, because she carts the kids around and whatever, but we still wanted a Wrangler because she's, she likes the Wrangler, whatever. Came with a hardtop, and we thought, hardtop's cool and all. We've owned it for like a year or so, and finally we decided we'd really like a soft top on it because I've always had soft tops. They're fun, whatever. The kids were starting to look forward to being able to take the top off and whatever. And the Freedom top just doesn't offer a whole lot of options. Plus those panels, they tend to leak and whatever, they're a pain in the butt. So we put it up for sale, and I got a guy that had a 2010, I think, Unlimited. And he's like, I'd like a hard top. I have a soft top. I will give you $1,000 cash plus my soft top, and we'll call it a deal. So that's what we did. Well,
pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, but it's, again, 2010, right? So imagine a soft top that's been on a Jeep since 2010.
Yeah, I guess
right?
It depends on how well it was taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. So he sort of, I'm not going to say he misled me, but he was not forthcoming on the quality of the soft top. He sent me a couple pictures of it, and it looked okay in the pictures. And by the time he got to me, because he'd driven like 2 hours to get to me, the $1,000 cash, to be honest, was enough for me. The soft top was more or less just like a bonus. It gave me something to put on the Jeep until we bought a soft top, which was the plan. So long story short, the soft top he gave me was crap. It leaked. The seals on the hardware were kind of bad. The hardware that goes around the doors and stuff.
Yeah, the door surround things.
Yeah. And so my initial plan was going to be replace a top from Bestop, which uses all of the factory hardware, which I thought was going to be in decent shape. And then, I have a practically new top. Well, when all the hardware was leaky and all the seals were bad in that, I thought it just makes a whole lot more sense to get a full soft top. So I went to Bestop again, because who wouldn't, right? It's Bestop. I've got $1,000. I can get a top from Bestop for $1,000. So I go to Bestop, and we look through all the different tops they have for sale, and we decide on the Trek Top Glide, which, if you're not familiar with the Trek Top Glide, is like the Trek Top, the fastback tops you see on so many Jeeps, especially Unlimiteds. It seems really popular on the TJ Unlimited, which is what I've got, and it's also very popular on the JK Unlimiteds. You see them with that, slanted back on the back of them. The Trek Top Glide, from what I understand, is a relatively new version of the old Trek Top. The old Trek Top was basically like, you've seen these safari tops, maybe, where they go from the windshield all the way back over the whole roll cage, and then you have zipper in side windows and a zipper in back window, and then of course your doors, right? Mine on the LJ is just like that. That's exactly how it works. Well, and then it usually has a sun rider, right? So you can flop it back and have the sun. Well, the Trek Top Glide does all that, plus you can fold the whole center section of the top back just like the factory top, right? That's the Glide feature of the Trek Top Glide. Plus, there's no zippers on the thing. It's all rails and hooks and whatever. And it's actually a pretty nice top, pretty nice design. And it comes with all new hardware, right? So we didn't have to deal with the seals and whatnot on the old soft top that we had. So I put it on, and like the week we installed it, it's already leaking. And I thought, okay, I probably did something wrong in the installation, because they give you decent instructions, but there's this cable that puts tension on the top in order to make the Sunrider part of it work.
Yeah.
And it's got a spring on the back, and it runs right along the outer edge, right above the doors on the center section at the top, and it runs right through where the rear window is supposed to seal against the door surround. And in my opinion, that cable is letting water in through that seal. I mean, you know how water works, right?
Yeah.
You have one little thing for it to follow, and it's going to follow it.
Well, it'll find a hole and get in there.
Right. So I contacted Bestop and I said, is this cable supposed to be here? Because it's leaking, and I think that's why. And first of all, I sent them an email, because that was every time I've ever dealt with their customer service, they've been really responsive. So I sent them an email, and the first thing I got back was an auto response saying, due to the pandemic,
That's how everything is. Yeah.
like everybody, due to the pandemic, we're under high load. Like because of the pandemic, everybody's has trouble with their soft tops. I don't know. I assume that maybe, like a lot of companies, they're understaffed at the moment, right?
Yeah.
That they had to lay people off, or that
people are
can't come to the
quarantined for
office.
2
Like,
weeks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what the situation at Bestop is. All I know is their customer service is very much degraded right now, from my experience. I've never had a problem with them before, and now I'm getting all kinds of delays. You drop them an email. I waited a week after I sent that email, and I finally called them, because in the email it said, if you'd like a faster response, give us a call. I called them and spent a half an hour on hold waiting to talk to somebody, right? So it's not like you get an instant person on the phone when you call them either. So they must be overloaded in some way, or understaffed, or something. Anyway, the first guy I talked to, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm just trying to relay a story here. But the first guy I talked to tells me that the Trek Top Glide has a known problem where it leaks on the rear windows. Now, this is a guy at Bestop that answers their phone number when you call for help.
Yeah. So why would you still have that on the market and not have like a little note on your website or something?
Exactly. Now, think about this from a perspective, like, I'm just trying to look. I have this, whether it's a quality or a fault, I don't know. I have this problem where I try to see every angle before I go and badmouth somebody.
Right.
But if you look at it from their perspective, say you've got a product that you sell 1,000 of them and 10 of them leak, right? Do you take it off the market? Probably not. No. You probably deal with those 10. You try to help those 10 people out.
You refund it or do whatever you need to. Yeah.
If you sell 1,000 of them and 750 of them leak, you recall the product.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's just the way they should work. So I have no idea how many Trek Top Glides get sold. I have no idea how many of them leak. I don't have any access to any of that information. But the fact that he says there's a known problem makes me feel like there's a lot of people calling saying, my Trek Top Glide leaks. So I go to the internet. Well, first of all, he tells me, get some of that sticky tape stuff like you would seal truck bed caps with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The stuff you'd lay down on the truck bed to put the cap on so it doesn't leak or doesn't damage the truck bed. He says, get some of that and try to fill in the gap, was his words. Right now, there's no visible gap. Right? So he didn't say where to put them. He didn't say, he gave me a vague reference to put them on the door surround or the back of the window, but he didn't say where. He didn't say what gap I was trying to seal. He just said seal the gap. I thought, all right, I'll go tinker around with it. So then I went to the internet to try to search and see if other people are having this trouble. And sure enough, I find all kinds of people on the threads or on the forums with threads about their Trek Top Glides leaking. So to me, this feels like it's a bigger problem than just, 10 out of 1,000, like my example before. This feels like it's a big enough problem that Bestop should be dealing with it. And that kind of made me start thinking, one, I've got a problem here that's affecting a few people. I can't find a solution to it online, right? And Bestop themselves seem to be, I don't want to say floundering, but they're having trouble telling me how to solve it. So I thought if I find a solution, I'm making a video, right? And that video is going to get released. It's not because I'm trying to make Bestop look bad. It's not because I'm trying to get anything out of Bestop. It's not because I'm trying to, talk badly about them or whatever. It's, this is how I decide to make videos sometimes. If you
Well,
can't,
yeah,
yeah,
people are putting out a product, and if a lot of people are having issues with it, they're going to go to your video now and see, okay, I'm not the only one. How did he go about trying to fix it? Did he fix it? What are the issues?
right.
Like some reference.
Right. Now, if it gets Bestop's attention and they fix the problem and that helps them improve, then that's great.
Even
Like I
better.
said, I've and I say this in the video that I made, I have been running Bestop's products for 20 years. My first YJ that I had, I hated the factory top because the factory YJ tops, if you've ever seen them, they were snaps and there were rails and there were zippers and it was all just a real pain in the butt to work with, right? I mean, and the hardware that they went on was real bulky and clunky. So there was nothing wrong with that top. I just didn't like it. And I bought a Bestop Super Top because that was like the top to buy at the time. And I dropped like $700 on it in 1999 when I was a broke kid.
Yeah, it's like $1,000 now. So
Yeah, that couldn't afford a $700 top, but I did anyway. And that thing lasted. It was on that YJ for a year. Then I sold that YJ for a better YJ with a 6-cylinder. That one had a 4. So I swapped the factory top back onto it before I sold it. Then I put the super top on the second YJ I owned, and it was on that YJ for 10 years, and it was still on it when I sold it. It was in rough shape, but it was still, it didn't leak, right?
still
I
holding
had
up there.
sewn some of
Yeah.
the, yeah, I mean, I had sewn some of the things back together, and then one of the zippers was going bad, but it still worked, whatever. It was a trail Jeep at that point, so it didn't matter. But anyway, I had that. I have the Trek Top NX on my LJ, which has been a phenomenal top. There were 2 quality problems that I had with that when I first got it. I contacted Bestop. They sent me new components, no problem, right? No questions asked. Just send us pictures to prove that you're not just trying to scam us. They
Right.
sent me new parts. Right? Like they've had really good customer service over the years. So, I didn't even think about should I go do some research on the Trek Top Glide before I buy it. I thought it's Bestop. I trust Bestop, right? So anyway, back to the point I was trying to make. Um, Not only do I hope that this can help people that have a Trek Top Glide that did not seek refunds and get rid of the top, because that's a thing that you're open to for like 30 days or something. Not only do I hope it helps those people, but I hope it brings some awareness to it so that maybe Bestop can see like, yeah, there is really a problem here. This guy found a solution for it. Maybe we can work that into the design, or maybe we can. The solution ended up being a piece of that foam tape I talked about, cut into a certain shape and stuck on there. Right?
Yeah, at
Like
least
they
to
could,
include the foam tape in
yeah.
the kit or something.
If they include that in the kit and add a step to the directions, this might not be a problem anymore. Now it may not be a permanent fix. We'll see over time. I literally did this last weekend, right? So it could be that it doesn't hold up over time, or that it's not truly solved. But in all the tests I did, it seems to be solved. But what I really think it comes down to is the design of the door surround. I think that if they change the design of that slightly so that you don't need that piece of foam tape, it would probably actually solve the problem in a more permanent way. But I'm not a soft top designer, right? So I don't know. I don't want to go like, I feel like I could take a utility knife and cut a little hole in the door surround and it might solve it permanently, but I don't want to do that and ruin it.
Yeah, you don't want to make it worse.
Yeah, I don't want to make it any worse.
That kind of makes me wonder, like, what kind of tests these tops go through if they like just spray it with a hose, if they take it in torrential
Yeah.
downpours. Like, how do you test a top to know if it's waterproof or not?
So the the thing is, I came across a guy in a Facebook group that I'm part of, another Jeep related Facebook group. There was someone asking about a Bestop they had just bought, and they were asking about a step in the directions, I think it was. And I looked at the instructions that they posted a picture of, and it looked like it was another Trek Top. So I started a conversation with the guy like, look, I just got a Trek Top. Mine's leaking. Here's what you should look at, once you get it installed. I didn't want to see him install it and then like 45 days from now realize it's leaking and he's not covered by that guarantee anymore, right?
Right,
And he
right.
said, well, it turned out that it wasn't a Trek Top Glide he was installing. It was a normal Trek Top, and those don't apparently have the same leaking problem.
Hmm.
But another guy said, I've got the Trek Top Glide on a JKU, and it's perfect. Doesn't leak at all. So why does mine leak and his doesn't? I don't know. That's the thing. He sent me a ton of pictures about how his rear window's installed, and it looks practically identical to mine. So I don't know. See, this is what I mean. It seems like not every Tech Top Glide leaks, but enough of them do that you can find people online having problems, right? I don't know.
I wonder if they just sew something different, or if they just put a little piece a little out of place when they're manufacturing it, especially like with COVID. I wonder if it's kind of increasing now, like
Yeah.
having all sorts of new people in there. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have a, well, you release this thing audio, so showing you a picture wouldn't help, but I'll try to describe the top. If you're familiar with the JK soft tops, the rear window, whether it's the factory top or I think every Bestop I've ever seen, it uses the same thing where the rear window either zippers or somehow slides into place, right? And then
Right.
there's this like roll in piece that's on the door surround. That's when you close the rear door, this roll in piece is sort of right at the rear end of the door, right? I don't know if you've ever seen. You have a soft top on yours, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I've played with a factory soft top that's kind of crappy and leaks anyway, but
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. So it kind of rolls into a rail or a hook. It's one of these hook and rail things where it like rolls around the rear of the door surround, and then it comes all the way up to the top of the door on the factory top, right? And then when you close the door, it kind of seals against it. Well, on the Trek Top Glide, and I think the normal Trek Top, what that does is it comes up to about an inch below the top of the drip rail that's on this door surround. And then it switches to just normal fabric from there up to the top of it. And there's a seal that's sewn to the inside of the window that's supposed to press against the door surround and seal water from getting in, right? With this cable in the way, the cable goes through, the seal is right on top of the cable, right?
Yeah.
I think the cable is causing a little bit of a gap in that seal, right? So I don't think it's a quality in the way they've built like it doesn't appear to be a manufacturing defect. It appears to be a design flaw that for whatever reason affects some people worse than others, right? And if I park to the Jeep on a downhill, it never leaks. You can be in a torrential downpour, it doesn't leak. If you park it on an uphill so that water runs down the drip rail, which is what it's there for,
Yeah.
to the back of the door, it goes right in through this leak, so or through this seal. So I basically fixed it by putting a piece of that foam tape in a place that sort of barricades the where the water would run in, and now it forces it to run on the outside of the door. I mean,
Huh.
and again, I don't know if this is going to be a permanent fix or not, but I hope it is.
Yeah, hopefully especially for the amount of money you had to spend on that top, and
Yeah,
then to have it leak on you. I mean, I understand everything's kind of chaotic right now and all companies are having issues, but
yeah.
like you're saying, this kind of seems like some kind of design issue that they've had probably for a while if multiple people have had issues with it. Do you know if it's on just the four door, or is it on the two door as well?
I really don't know. A friend of mine just bought a Trek top for his two door, but I don't think it's the Glide.
Hmm.
And I know if his was leaking, I would hear about it, and I haven't heard a thing from him. So I don't know if I know anybody that has a Trek Top Glide on the two door, but it seems like something that would probably affect the two door, unless it's a considerably different design. But I wouldn't think
Yeah,
it would be.
it kind of is weird too, like how some it'll leak on and then others it just doesn't leak. So
Yeah, yeah, and this is relatively easy to reproduce. You can park it on a slight uphill, and you can take just a coffee cup of water and pour it right on the top so that it runs into the drip rail and it goes right in. And that's in the video. You can see me do it. Um, Now, soft tops are soft tops. You can't expect them to be 100% waterproof all the time. But I feel like this is something that it should be waterproof against.
yeah, I mean,
This,
just a little dribble of water, you'd think it would protect against that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, I really, I don't know that there's a better manufacturer of soft tops out there right now. I mean, Bestop is sort of the name you go to for aftermarket soft tops. They make the factory soft tops.
Yeah,
I mean,
so they've been around for a
yeah,
long time too. I mean, they
I
make
don't
quality
know.
products.
This must somehow be. I don't know. You ever like I run into this a lot working in the industry that I work into. But you design a product a certain way, or you design a piece of, in my case, a piece of software a certain way, and then you give it to the public, right? Or you
Right.
sell it to the public. And in all of your tests, you try to think of all the edge cases that could possibly make this fail, right? And then you give it to people, and people find ways to make it fail. Whether they do it on purpose or not, it just, you know, some other person gets a hold of the thing and they don't think the same way you do. And they find these little edge cases. And I feel like this is that sort of thing, right? Maybe 90% of people, when they install this top, they do it in a way that it doesn't leak, right? And 10% of people are doing it just slightly differently and it's making it leak. And what it comes down to next is trying to find that 10% and figure out what they did wrong, right? And that's a really hard thing to do sometimes. So I don't want to sound like, Bestop is the worst company ever because they made this top that leaks and because I'm having trouble getting a hold. There's a lot of things at play here. I think this is a tiny edge case, and I think the pandemic's not helping, and there's just perfect storm kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we need to get you and someone else who has the same top that doesn't leak side by side, and we'll just like
Yeah,
magnifying glass, compare them, see what is different, if anything, to cause it to leak. Because there must be either something that is like you're saying designed wrong, or something that I don't know, something's put just a little bit different. You installed it a little bit different, and that causes it to leak. I'm not sure.
there's a in that seal I talked about. There's a slight crease in it, right? Not to the point where it collapses it, but there's a slight little crease in it. And I do wonder, because I looked at it's on both of my windows, right? So I
Yeah.
assume it's just the way they fold it when they package it or whatever. And I do wonder if that has something to do with it, because that crease could make it so it doesn't seal properly. But I can't do anything to get the crease out of it. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, other than get a new top, like that's
Yeah, I mean, I could ask Bestop to send me a new rear window and hope it comes without a crease in it, but there's a good chance it'll have the same crease in it, right?
yeah.
So I don't know what to do there. But yeah, I don't know. So if anybody out there has a Trek Top Glide that does not leak, reach out to me. I might have some questions for you. And if you have one that does leak, um, well, I assume you can include a link to the video in your
Yeah,
description here for this
of
show,
course.
so that folks can see how I fixed it. Now, the video did turn out to be about 20 minutes long because I did a whole lot of demonstration on like kind of the trial and error about how I arrived at the solution that I did, because I thought that would be useful for people. And it could be useful, to anyone like Bestop, for example, if best case scenario, they use my video as a way to figure out. Now, they've got engineers and whatever. I'm sure they don't need me to figure it out for them, but if it helps, it helps.
No, but at least they can see what's causing your issue. Maybe their
Yeah,
engineers can see something with your video and point it out. Or
I tend to be a thorough person. In this case it may help. I don't know. So, but at the very least, if someone does come across the video and go, "Huh, I wonder," because you ever run across one of those things like, "Oh yeah, that sounds exactly like the problem I'm having," but the
yep.
thing he did to fix it didn't fix mine, and I don't know why. I try to cover those edge cases and be like, "This is how I reproduce the problem. If this didn't happen to you, you may have a different problem."
Happens all the time. I've gotten actually one of my videos. Somebody's reached tons of people have reached out to me and thanked me for the video I did where the JK gas tank was overfilling, and you could
Hmm.
replace the one little nozzle or the one section with the check valve in it, and you were able
Yeah,
to stop that from happening. At least I was, and a bunch of other people have. The only issue now is the part that I had everyone going to get. The site is on back order, and I can't seem to
uh,
find it anywhere else. Nobody else is making it. It's a Mopar part, but it's like
yeah,
it's discontinued or something. Nobody wants to make it anymore, and I don't understand why if it's fixing the problem.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's plenty of pieces for the LJ that are discontinued now. Just like I needed a special bolt for my exhaust that I had trouble finding when I did
I remember that.
my oil pan work. Well, so these exhaust bolts, it's like I took them out. They look like crap. I'm like, I'm not putting these back in. I'm going to get new ones. Couldn't find them anywhere. Nobody makes them. So, but yeah, the gas tank thing I had. In fact, that's a very similar story, right? The TJ and LJ for a very specific year range has the same problem where you'll fill up the gas tank and it'll spit gas back at you. And what it comes down to is there's a valve. I think they call it a rollover valve. It's like this spring-loaded valve that's in the neck of the gas tank, and whatever plastic they made it out of, when it's exposed to fuel over a long enough period of time, it expands just a little, right?
Oh,
And it gets stuck, right? So what happens to some people is they'll try to fill their tank and it can't go in because the valve won't open, right?
yep.
And what happens to other people is it gets stuck open, right? And when it gets stuck open, what happens is like this thing is partially responsible for stopping the spit back of fuel when you're filling up the tank. When it gets stuck open, it'll fill it up until it goes all the way up the neck of the filler and spits back out again. Well, everyone's fix for that is the Chevy Trailblazer. You can get a filler neck that has a check valve in it, just like you were describing. In fact, I think you and I had this conversation when you told me about your problem.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody's like, "Oh, just get the Trailblazer filler with the check valve, and you cut this and you bend there and you do this and you do that, and then you put it in, and everything's fine." Okay, cool. $20, I can get this check valve. So I put it in my Jeep. Not only did it not fix the problem, it made it worse.
That's
It
horrible.
it still spit fuel at me. That was all the same, but what finally did it in for me is I was going up to AOAA for a day of trail guiding, and I stop at the gas station to fill up before I get to the park, like I always do,
Yep.
and I can't fill the tank faster than a trickle. It took me 10 minutes to put 5 gallons of fuel in my tank, and I decided that's it. I can't wait any longer. I'm gonna be late. I have to get up there. When I got home that night, I ripped that thing out. I put the stock one back in, and I thought I'll just deal with the spit. Well, later I found out that if you drop the tank and you pull off this rollover valve, you can lightly file the fins on this piece of plastic that is the spring-loaded check valve,
Yep.
and it fixes the problem just like that. But it's
Huh.
another case, right? It's another case where everybody was saying, do this to fix the problem. And it seemed like a 50-50% chance that you will get it right or wrong. And it's probably just something different in the way I installed the thing versus how other people are doing it. Or it's a slightly different problem or whatever, right? Same deal. So I made a video about how to fix the fins on this thing. And it's one of my most watched videos because people are like, how do I fix this? Oh, this actually fixes the problem instead of just band-aiding it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that you went to where your gas tank started to be a trickle, because that's how mine is in my JK right now. It was starting to really piss me off,
Yeah.
and my buddy is going fuel cell in his. So I'm just gonna take. I've been having evap issues and all sorts of issues with my gas tank, so I'm just gonna take it out and replace it with his, and knock on wood, that should fix the problem. But right now,
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about that because I got my new daily driver truck now, so we're looking in good
Yeah.
shape.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
See, I have no idea if the JK has a similar rollover valve, but if you drop the tank anyway, it might be worth looking.
Well, because I dropped the tank once when I was having issues with the evap, and I could always smell gas, and I thought it
Mm.
was the seal on the big seal on the center of the tank. I replaced that, and I could still smell it a little bit, and I was still getting weird codes and stuff. And I think it possibly could also be the other seal. There's another seal in the back of the tank that's for all the plugs and stuff that has evap going to it. I had snapped one of those nozzles. I had sealed it up, and it's sealed tight, but now I'm having issues with it not liking to take gas. So I don't know.
Never ends, right?
I can't win. But now I have the time, having a daily driver, that I can rip the gas tank out and just tinker with it and figure it out, and hopefully more
Yeah.
Jeep content on the YouTube channel.
there's a lot to be said for having a second vehicle. There was a long time where I had this little commuter car I was driving to and from work, and it was really nice to be able to not have to depend on the Wrangler to get me to and from work, because just what you're saying, you have a long project, it's going to take more than a weekend, no problem, go hop in the commuter.
Yep. Yeah, and you get so stressed out on like Sunday afternoon when you
Yep.
still haven't got your Jeep back together and you're like, crap, I got to get this ready for Monday morning, be able to drive to work. And
Yeah.
then you're like just slamming things, swearing at stuff, and you're like, I can't fix this. And you end up having to have your buddy bring you to work or something. So it's
Yeah,
definitely nice.
and then it's Sunday night and all the auto parts stores are closed and you realize you forgot a piece or you broke
Yeah, because they
something.
close like 2 hours early on a Sunday, all
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No, I've been there. I've been there. That commuter car is what allowed me to finally do the spring over axle conversion on my YJ when I had it, because I didn't have to depend on the thing to get me to and from work every day. I had all the stuff to do the conversion. I had gotten a welder, and I had, this is one of the earliest big projects I'd ever done to a Jeep. And it took me months to get it done because I just worked a couple hours here, a couple hours there. But yeah, having that car to drive is what really made it possible.
Yeah, and I'm hoping now that I don't have to focus on fixing the Wrangler. I can actually work a little bit more on the Cherokee
Yeah.
because I'm not having to fight that. I can let that sit for a little bit, and I'd like to get the axles underneath the Cherokee this year.
Yeah, I really want to start doing some suspension work on the LJ, as money provides, right? Because time is a
Yeah,
thing that I have now that I get to work from home and don't have to drive the Jeep every day. Um, but same deal. It's like I I want to be ready before I start, because I do need the Jeep for trail guiding, which is a little bit of extra income. So I don't want to like have it out of commission for 6 months.
yeah,
So I want to be sure I know what I'm getting into before I start. I don't want to screw it up and all that stuff. But yeah, same deal. Where even I don't know, even if we had a vehicle that my wife could drive, like say I got a tow rig, right?
yeah,
That's comfortable enough for her to drive. If I have to go trail guiding, I can take her Jeep, right?
yeah. It's
Go
plenty
trail guide for
capable.
the day, right? I mean, it's just a stock JK, but it's going to get a slight build, and especially once it gets that, I can certainly take it to go trail guiding if my Jeep's out of commission, right? So having two Jeeps and a commuter car, it's funny how this escalates, right?
And then you'll have another and another. Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure too, because like, of course, the truck I get, it's one of my dream trucks. Is the Ford Raptor. The only problem is it doesn't tow a whole lot, especially with the softer suspension in the rear. So like, it'll probably tow the Cherokee just fine and my Wrangler. But say I want to put a bunch more weight on it or get a bigger trailer and tow them both, like
yeah.
or tow a friend's rig or something, I'm going to eventually have to get another bigger truck. So it just adds to the collection.
Yeah, but it's a start, right? Like
Exactly.
personally, I'm looking at, I've been looking around. I've been looking for a long time off and on for something I can tow with. And it's like, if I can get something that'll tow 8,000 pounds, 7,000 pounds, it won't be ideal, but I'm not looking for the ideal tow rig. I'm looking for a thing that's in a low price range that can sit in front of the house and not fall apart all on its own, right? Be dependable enough that I can tow every now and then, right? And use for like, to go get groceries every now and then or whatever. And then in a couple years, I'll probably trade it in on something nicer, right? And that can absolutely be the way your truck is now. I don't know if you intend to do that, but that's the sort of thing, right? Like you buy what you need right now. Don't if you try to kill yourself on all the edge cases tomorrow, then you'll never get the truck you want,
Yeah.
right? If it's like, boy, someday I might need a truck that'll tow 16,000 pounds because I might want to tow both Jeeps somewhere. Well, maybe that day never comes. And all you did was kill yourself looking for a 16,000 pound tow rating.
Yeah. Or you, something comes up and you can't afford it. So many people kind of just like stay on the what ifs or
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start this or I wish I could do this. Like just go ahead and do it. Like with this podcast, I for the longest time I just kept saying, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start a podcast. And then
Yep.
you just got to pull the trigger and do it, because you're never going to know the alternative to not
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. So I mean, as you know, because we've talked about it, and one of the reasons I haven't bought a tow rig yet, because I could probably afford a cheap tow rig already, is uh, I've got enough of a financial mess from my past, right? That if I buy one now, it's just going to be another thing that I want to get rid of. But I'm
Yeah.
in the process of trying to get the hell out of debt, right? And one of the things that prevents people in my situation from getting out of debt is overthinking the situation, right? Like, you wouldn't think it'd be that difficult. It's like, I'm in debt. I want to pay off my debts. Oh, but which one should I pay off first? Probably the one with the highest interest rate. Oh, but I've got $16,000 or whatever on that one. It's going to take me forever to pay off. Then you start paying it off, and then you're like, I'm never going to get this done. Why should I try? And you stop, right? So it's the same deal, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing with the suspension. I keep talking about wanting to build for the LJ. It's like, I want to have it all right before I start. But if I just start, I'll probably get it done. It'll probably be fine.
Yes.
Right?
Starting is better than not doing. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to start somewhere. I mean, and that's kind of another reason why I bought the Raptor, is because I knew I needed a daily driver truck, and I wanted something that I wouldn't touch for a while, just because
Yeah.
I knew I have I can't keep things stock. I can't keep it alone. Can't not touch it. So I figured a Raptor has the Fox Racing suspension, and it's pretty done up for light off-roading and stuff. So if I need to take it hunting or doing whatever, I should be all set for a little while.
Yeah, that's kind of the key, right? If you have an outdoor lifestyle and you take the vehicle that enables that lifestyle and you take it to pieces, and it's there like that for 6 months, right? Even if you're not depending on it to get to work, you
Right.
depend on it for those hobbies, right? I'm the same way, right? So if I get anything to tow, when I get something to tow, it's going to be 4-wheel drive, and it's going to have all that in mind. Plus, I have the family to think about, right? So I'm looking at Suburbans instead of pickups or Tahoes, because it's a little more of a family vehicle. Like, all this plays in.
Yeah, and it's just definitely nice to have an extra set of wheels in case, like, the wife's Jeep breaks, or my other
Yep.
Jeep breaks, or something. That we have 3 vehicles now, so there should always be something to drive, unless for some reason both of something break.
I mean, technically, you have 4 vehicles, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't think zip tie's rolling anywhere anytime soon.
But it counts, right? It's in the count.
Yeah,
Do you
it
have
counts.
like, is it registered in your name? Because if it is, it's a vehicle.
Nope, it's not registered, not inspected, nothing.
Yeah.
I
Guess you
think
can.
it's gonna be a trailer queen. So
Yeah, here, I don't know if I can get away with that here. I think even if I don't register it for street use, it's got to be registered with the Park Service.
huh.
I think, as like an off-road only vehicle.
Yeah, we can. They get touchy about, especially if you live more in town, if you have a bunch of unregistered vehicles in your yard, because they consider it kind of starting to be a junkyard or
Now it's a
something.
junkyard.
Yeah, so I think you're only allowed like 1, maybe 2 unregistered vehicles.
Yeah.
As well, as long as your neighbors are not saying anything about it, usually nobody makes us think about it. But if your yard looks like complete garbage and you have axles everywhere and stuff, so then they
Yeah, but
might
yeah,
start to
here
complain.
even like a four-wheeler or an ATV, we're supposed to have registered.
Yeah, 4-wheelers and stuff you have to register up here.
Yeah, okay. So it's not just a PA thing. That's good.
Yeah, no. But like, you don't have to register like trail, like Jeeps or anything, unless you're driving it on a legal road. You're supposed to have it, because a lot of our class 6 trails are technically, they're still roads, so you're supposed to not be drinking and driving on them and obeying all the rules of the road per se.
Right. So no drinking and driving on your
Yeah,
trails.
definitely not. There is another, I gotta see, because my wife works for the police dispatch, and there's another vehicle on the trail. I don't know if you saw the other video where we took like 3 cars off the trail. there's another burnt
Yeah.
vehicle on the beginning of the trail. So we got to see about getting permission to take that off the trail. We want to go through all the legal channels so somebody's not like, oh, you stole my vehicle,
Yeah.
or if it is a stolen vehicle or drug vehicle or what, they can take the VIN number or whatever they need. And
Yeah, that's a valid thing, right? We had a bunch of there was a place near here that that I wheel or that I used to wheel. I'm not even sure if it was legal to be in there, to be honest. It seems open, but whatever. I digress. There was a bunch of burnt vehicles and stuff in there, and we always wanted to get them cleaned up, but we didn't know the right channel. We didn't want to just go like pull it out of there, right? Because again, this vehicle could be stolen, and maybe no one knows it's here, and no one's reported it. This vehicle could be, that someone just abandoned it. It could be part of a drug bust. Like who knows, right? So
yeah, exactly. And that's why we wanted to go through the legal channels, hopefully get it off the trails quick and hopefully get
yeah.
someone in trouble for whoever's taking care of that. So
Yeah, exactly. Right. If you can figure out who it's registered to, if it's registered at all,
yeah.
then maybe you can trace it back to why the hell is this in the woods to begin with?
Yeah, like I don't understand if people are getting rid of these vehicles, as long as it's not like something shady and illegal, you could
Yeah.
bring these to a scrapyard and they'll give you
Uh-huh.
money for it.
It
So
could be that people
why?
don't know.
I guess so. Well, hopefully this educates them if they listen to this. I doubt those kind of
Yeah,
people are
right.
listening to this podcast, though.
Right.
Alrighty, but I know you got to get going, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast again and talk a little bit about the soft top issue you were having. And
Yeah, absolutely. So I encourage anybody who's curious or has a direct top glide with a leaking problem to go check out the video, or just check out my channel in general. I can always use some more views, some more subscribers.
yeah, I'll definitely link his channel in the description and link the specific video we're talking about here, so you can check it out. Especially if you're having the issue, leave him a comment, let him know that you're having the issue too, or that you're not having the issue, so you guys can shoot ideas back and forth, and maybe something will come
Yeah.
of this. So it'd be really
Yeah, I
cool
mean,
to have you back on in the future and this is fixed, or maybe even
Yeah.
have Bestop on here and kind of discuss the problem and
I
going on.
I would be completely open to that. I mean, like I said, I got nothing but respect for Bestop. I just think that there's a design flaw in this top, and I'm not ruling out the idea that I did something wrong, but it sure doesn't feel like I did. So if we can get to the bottom of this and it helps out other people or it helps Bestop, then that's absolutely what I'd love to see happen.
All right, guys, thanks for listening to the Bearded Jeeper podcast. Make sure you share this with a friend, and as always, stay bearded, stay jeepin'. I'm out.